A commentary on the dispute concerning delimitation of the maritime boundary between Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire in the Atlantic Ocean. In an era where hydrocarbon exploration and exploitation activities keep soaring, the law of maritime delimitation has a vital role to play. Even though the optimal result in a delimitation dispute would be the establishment of a definitive and permanent boundary, international law envisages rules for the regulation of offshore activities in undelimited or disputed maritime areas as well. In order to delimit their respective maritime areas and proceed with hydrocarbon operation, Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire submitted their maritime dispute to a special chamber of ITLOS. The chamber had to address a series of issues, including the existence or not of a tacit delimitation agreement, the delimitation of the relevant maritime area both within and beyond 200 miles, and the alleged international responsibility of Ghana. After resolving that there was no tacit delimitation agreement, the chamber applied the three-stage method and designated a maritime boundary based on equidistance for the area both within and beyond 200 miles. Nonetheless, the Chamber's finding with respect to the constitutive nature of a delimitation judgment, delimitation beyond 200 miles in the absence of recommendation issued by the CLCS, and the performance of unilateral drilling in undelimited or disputed maritime areas appear to be controversial and precarious. On 23 September 2017, the Special Chamber of the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea, or ITLOS, handed down its judgment in the Ghana or Côte d'Ivoire maritime delimitation case. It should be noted that the Special Chamber had issued an order prescribing provisional measures which included, among others, prohibition of new drillings by Ghana in the undelimited or disputed area. As the parties lodged the case to the Special Chamber by way of a special agreement, initially Ghana had instituted proceeding under Annex 7 of the 1982 United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS. No serious jurisdictional issues occurred apart from the question whether the Chamber was competent to address the matter of state responsibility regarding alleged violation of Article 83 UNCLOS by Ghana. The Special Chamber didn't accept the Ghanaian argument on the existence of a tacit delimitation agreement and utilized the three-stage process in order to draw a single maritime boundary according to the equidistant or relevant circumstances method, delimiting the territorial sea, the exclusive economic zone or EEZ, and the continental shelf both within and beyond 200 miles. However, one of the most interesting aspects of the judgment is that the Chamber didn't consider the unilateral drilling performed by Ghana in an undelimited or disputed maritime area as constituting a violation of the obligation imposed on the authority of Article 83.3 UNCLOS. The Provisional Measures Order, in the aftermath of the institution of the Special Chamber, Côte d'Ivoire filed a request for provisional measures asking the Chamber to order the suspension of the ongoing oil activities and to prohibit the granting of additional hydrocarbon licenses by Ghana. To prevent information regarding hydrocarbon attained by Ghana from being used to the detriment of Côte d'Ivoire, to take measures to preserve the continental shelf, superjacent waters, and the seabed, to order Ghana to refrain from any unilateral activities that might entail a risk of prejudice to co-deivor's rights and might aggravate the dispute. In its order, the Special Chamber highlighted the great importance ascribed to the preservation of the marine environment by the UNCLOS, customary international law and international jurisprudence. Additionally, the Chamber accentuated the risk Ghana's exploration and exploitation activities, including exploratory drilling, might bring about for the environment and noted that damage on the seabed and subsoil would not be possible to be remedied by means of compensation. In the end, the Chamber concluded that Ghana's activities might cause an irreparable harm to the environment and therefore ordered Ghana not to commence any new drilling. The Chamber also reiterated an important point which could allay the fears of many states involved in a dispute and could contribute to the easement of tension. In particular, it stated any action or abstention by either party in order to avoid aggravation or extension of the dispute should not in any way be construed as a waiver of any of its claims or an admission of the claims of the other party to the dispute. Another noteworthy aspect of the order is that the Chamber took into consideration any financial losses Ghana was likely to suffer in case its ongoing hydrocarbon activities were to be terminated. With a view to striking a balance as to the protection of the right of both parties, and although it prohibited any future activities, the Chamber didn't order cessation of those activities already underway, distancing itself from previous case law. However, as Tanaka notes, the fact that the oil and gas activities of Ghana took place on its side of the equidistant line may have played a role in the Chamber's decision in this respect. An additional crucial point is the finding of the Chamber that access to information about resources falls within the ambit of a state-exclusive right. This suggests that even exploration for the attainment of seismic data may constitute a violation of sovereign right and should be prohibited. Besides, that is what exclusivity of the coastal state's sovereign rights in respect of exploration over its continental shelf stipulates. The particular conclusion signaled a departure from previous cases where international courts and tribunals seemed to condone unilateral exploration activities in undelimited or disputed areas. The merit phase. Existence of a tacit delimitation agreement. One of the main arguments put forward by Ghana at the merit stage was that a tacit delimitation agreement exists as between the parties and therefore asked the Chamber to endorse the purported customary equidistant boundary instead of drawing another equidistant line. Ghana predicated its claim on consistent oil practice, namely the fact that both parties carried out oil activities on their side of the alleged customary equidistant line, and concession granted by the parties didn't cross that limit. Nevertheless, the Chamber took into account that Côte d'Ivoire had in several instances objected to Ghanaian activities in the undelimited or disputed area. Hence, it wasn't bound by estoppel in this regard. Furthermore, the Special Chamber didn't deem concession maps, domestic legislation, and submission to the Commission on the Limit of the Continental Shelf or CLCS sufficient evidence supporting the existence of a tacit agreement. It also emphasized that oil activities are being carried out on the seabed and thus do not have any bearing on a delimitation involving the superjason water column. In addition, the Chamber noted that the conduct of bilateral negotiation with respect to the appropriate delimitation method and the issuance of joint statement by the President of Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire referring to a delimitation agreement to be reached in the future lead to the conclusion that there was no tacit agreement on the customary equidistant boundary. Thank you.